Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, this Tuesday, May 2nd, 9:30 at Laguna Woods. We call this meeting to order. We have a quorum, and so the next item would be the Pledge of Allegiance by Director Stillman.
Good morning. This morning I'd like us to think about our departed board member, Don Tibbetts, as we do the pledge, who was a Navy pilot. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I acknowledge the media, and the next is the approval of the agenda. So one of the things that I would like to add to the agenda is instead of the report of the chair, basically that we would be honoring the directors that have passed. Okay, and so Egon is going to talk about his wife has just passed, and then we have John Frankel, who's on the third board, has just passed this last in April, and then Don Tibbetts. So I want to add that to the agenda under chair remark. Okay. So will there be any other changes to the agenda?
I move the agenda as amended.
All right, thank you. You second it? Okay. Any objections? No objections. The modified agenda is approved. So the next item would be the approval of minutes of April 4th, 2023. GRF Board Regular Open Meeting. Are there any changes? So if those no changes, are there any objections? No objections. The meeting minutes of April 4th, 2023 is passed. Thank you. The next is the approval of the minutes of April 20th, 23 GRF Board Agenda Prep Meeting. Are there any changes? No changes. Any objection? There are no objections. The GRF Board Agenda Prep Meeting is approved. Thank you. So the next is the report of the chair. And Egon, would you like to speak about your wife?
Sure. Okay, so my wife Leah died on April 19th. And after 2.5 years with cancer illness. She was born in March 1953 while her parents were on a vacation. So she was born in Philadelphia, but never went back there, came back to California, and was a California girl her whole life. She went to mostly parochial schools, and then after that she went to Long Beach State College, but finished her education when we moved to Bakersfield, at Cal State Bakersfield. Much later in her life, she got a teaching credential from Laverne University. Her big thing, her best stuff was when she was a young mother. She really doted on the children. She really enjoyed that life a lot. And we lived in a town where family is the big thing. So our lives were mostly going to school to see what the kids are doing, and then Little League and Soccer League and all the other things that we had to do. We came here to Laguna Woods in 2015, and she enjoyed her stay here very much. We joined a lot of the clubs, and that's really all of what I have to say. I don't have any plans right now with respect to a a get-together, a celebration of life, because what we did is when we first found out that she had cancer, we had a big celebration of life with her friends and stuff, and I think that was much more appropriate because she could attend herself, and she was smiling from ear to ear on that day. It's been a long struggle, but I guess I'm sort of glad that she's at peace. And that's all. The only reason she really qualifies to be talked about here with the board members is that she was occasionally a board widow. And that's the same as a golf widow, only it's not for such a noble cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to say something?
Yes. You forgot to mention how beautiful she was.
Yes, she was probably one of the few people that took a good picture of the DMV.
Okay. Elsie, do you want to say something about John Frankel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. I wrote this to go after Don Tibbetts, and so you'll have to bear with me when I
Okay.
say, like Don Tibbetts, my friend and colleague John Frankel spent his life serving his country, his family, and his community. I want to share just a few highlights from his obituary. Lieutenant Commander John A. Frankel, U.S. Navy retired, 86, of Laguna Woods, California, passed away on Saturday, April 8th. He was born in February of 1937 in Beverly Hills, and he was a sixth-generation Californian, and it's just a miracle I got this guy to talk about because I'm only a fourth-generation California, so this guy's amazing. Sixth-generation California. He graduated from North Hollywood High School and then attended his beloved UC Berkeley, graduating in 1960 with a degree in civil engineering. He was commissioned in the U.S. Navy and served with the Seabees, the Civil Engineer Corps, for 20 years, including a tour in Vietnam with the Seabees, sorry. While in Vietnam, he received numerous medals, including the Air Force Commendation Medal. He retired from active duty in 1980 and began working as a project manager. Now, this is all volunteer stuff. First with the County of Orange, and then with the Austin Company. I'm sorry, he still worked he was getting paid for those too, sorry. But then after he retired from Austin, he began to volunteer his services as a facilities engineer at J. Sarah High School, that's just right here, a project manager at Crayon Lutheran High School, I'm not sure where that is, building the new school campuses. Additionally, he was appointed to the Architectural Review Committee of the Orange County Transit Authority. His final job in retirement, this was his final big paying job in retirement, serving as a director to the Laguna Woods Third Mutual Board. He was active in the YMCA for more than 50 years, Rotary International 49 years, Shriners International, American Legion, and he was very active in his church, the Lutheran Church of the Cross in Laguna Woods. He traveled a lot. He loved the Dodgers, yes. He loved the Cal Bears, and he had 3 children, and he survived by all 3 of them. His wife of 58 years, Dottie, who still lives in the village with us. And, so I served for several years with John on the traffic hearings committees. And he was on other GRF boards as well. GRF committees as well, even though he was from Third. He was a really strong support for longtime Chair Ray Gross. I know Ray's really grieving today, and was later chair himself. He helped new members learn the ropes and was always a gentleman to everybody, whether residents or his colleagues. He will be missed by all who knew him. And then I'd also like to mention, And I just really, really loved John. He was so nice. If you needed anything, he would, he'd remember, and then you'd see him a week later, and he'll go, oh, this is what you wanted. And he'd go, I forgot I even asked for it. He was just such a great guy. And he's going to have a private military, at Riverside National Cemetery with military honors. That's going to be private, but at the Lutheran Church of the Cross up here on El Toro, at Laguna Woods on El Toro Road in Laguna Woods on Friday, May 19th. That's Friday, May 19th. That's Friday, May 19th at 10 o'clock with a reception to follow in the church social hall. A private, and I already said about the private burial. So I'm sorry that was a little mishmashed, but it was from the heart, and I hope he's playing a card game with Egon's wife. That would be really cool. So, or whatever they like to play. Anyway, sorry.
Thank you, Elsie. So before I talk about Dawn, Joan is asked to talk about a prior board member. Okay?
Thank you. In February, Jim Juhan passed away, and those of you who knew him on third board and GRF board knew only part of him. He was an Army chaplain and a paratrooper, and he and his wife were met in the service. His wife, by the way, is Cynthia Connors. And I knew Jim for a long time, and his humor would crack me up. Even when he was in decline, he never lost that sense of humor. And we'd be sitting in a restaurant, and he'd make some funny remark, and everybody just break out in gales of laughter. And anyone who sat next to him at the board meetings had to be careful, because his remarks would always crack them up. But as he declined, Jim lost his speech, but he never lost his sense of humor. And I was amazed at how wonderfully he was able to keep up with everything, even though he had trouble walking and talking towards the end. He was a wonderful man, and his experience as a Army counselor was spectacular. So I just want to be sure that Jim was remembered along with everybody else that seems to be leaving us these days, because he was a wonderful board member. That's it.
Thank you. Well, I can't say enough about Don. He's been serving on the boards 20 years. He was on the United board, and then he served on our board. I think this was his third term that he was on the board. But he is also a native, and he's a native of Orange County, okay? He was born in Santa Ana. He was born in the old Santa Ana Hospital, graduated from Santa Ana High School, and attended Santa Ana College, a true native of Orange County. So he was in the Navy, and he was also a school principal. And when I read that, I thought, no wonder he was so easy to get along with the board, because he had a lot of training. So anyway, he was known as a quiet man, and he didn't talk much unless he had something to say. He chaired many committees through the years and also ran a tight ship. He was invariably well prepared and supplied a quiet but firm leadership style to those lucky enough to work with him. So he understood the complex relationship among the boards and the staff and treated everyone with whom he worked with courtesy and respect. So I'm going to cry. Often seasoned with his particular dry sense of humor, he was a true gentleman and will be sorely missed by all of us. And his service is Friday, May 12th, 11 a.m. at St. Nicholas Church. Thank you. Okay, let's hope we don't have any more for a while. Okay, so the next item is the CEO report.
Thank you, President Carpenter, and I would like to extend my warmest condolences to all the families.
Yes.
Today I wanted to highlight simple ways residents can stay informed. The first thing I would like to highlight is What's Up in the Village. This electronic e-blast is sent every Friday to more than 17,000 recipients. Residents may subscribe by going to lagunawoodsvillage.com and clicking Contact Us, the icon in the upper right-hand corner, and it's circled on red in your screen before you. To subscribe, scroll to the bottom, complete all fields, and request subscription to Village emails and alerts. Using this process, you can also subscribe to board email updates. GRF is sending monthly updates to Village residents. Third and United send regular updates targeted specifically to Housing Mutual members as well. To subscribe specifically to these messages, use the website form that I showed previously on the last slide, or send a message to info@vmsinc.org. Please note that you must subscribe. Having your email address on file with Resident Services does not subscribe you to the weekly e-blast or newsletters. You must opt in to these items. Also, you may check for the latest Village news on the website. This is found on lagunawoodsvillage.com under the News tab and the News Home tab. Regular news updates are also posted on the Village Facebook page. Board and committee meetings. GRF United and Third Boards meet the first, second, and third Tuesday, respectively, of each month at 9:30. You may view the board and committee meeting schedule at lagunawoodsvillage.com under the Calendars All Governance Boards calendar, sometimes referred to as Team Up. To attend virtual board meetings via Zoom, look for the Zoom meeting link in the open forum section of the respective board or committee agenda posted to Laguna Woods Village Calendars All Governance Boards. Click on the link a few minutes prior to the meeting to launch Zoom. Select Open Meetings and launch the meeting when prompted. No password or registration is required. Another way to view board and committee meetings is via Granicus. You visit lagunawoodsvillage.com, use the Meetings tab, and meetings are listed by date with the most recent at the top. If you click the video, you can watch the meetings and view the agenda documents, or click Agenda to see the documents and backup materials. You may also watch meetings on TV6. GRF United and Third monthly board meetings are aired live on Village Television on their respective Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. All board meetings are replayed on TV6 the following Thursday at 1:30 p.m. and the following week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. You can also watch meeting recordings on YouTube. Visit the Village YouTube channel to watch meeting recordings. Access this using the link on the Village website home screen, and that's the red arrow in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Residents are also encouraged to subscribe to Code Red, the Village emergency notification system. To do this, you can go to lagunawoodsvillage.com and click on the Code Red icon, also in the top left-hand corner of the screen and circled on the screen before you. You'll scroll to the bottom, open the drop-down menu, and click on Code Red and complete all fields. A form is also available at the concierge desk in the lobby if you wish to subscribe in person. And then last month I talked about ways residents can help control costs. One item I highlighted pertains to opting out of paper mailings. Senate Bill 392 took effect earlier this year and requires that each member receive a written request to indicate a preferred method of delivery. Notice will arrive with the 2022 audited financial statements that you'll receive the first week of May. Please watch for it and reply. To opt out of receiving hard copy mailings and receive these communications electronically, residents may email information@vmsinc.org or drop off or mail their form to the Laguna Woods Village Community Center. The mandated November and April mailings cost approximately $7.50 per member. If 12,000 members opt out of paper mailings, the annual savings would be $90,000. Similarly, if only a third of our members opt out of the paper mailings, annual savings would be more than $30,000. So we really encourage residents to take advantage of this opportunity and help us control our costs. And with that, that concludes my update this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the open forum. So how many speakers do we have today?
We have one in-person speaker and then 3 letters or emails that were sent to us.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, members only may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum. Speakers may not give their time to other people. No audio, video, recording by attendees, and no rude or threatening comments. Members can attend the meeting by joining Zoom link, and the number is 981-3125-7242, or call 669-900-6833, or email meeting@vms.org to have your message read during the open forum. So who's the first speaker?
First speaker is Peggy Kahn.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to speak about 2 items as quickly as I can. The first is I want to make sure that everyone's aware that we need to do some work to create some more crosswalks, correct existing crosswalks we have for pedestrian safety. That's what the sight impaired have been asking for as part of the sight team. And we just really need some work in this area. The second item is to discuss the LED stop signs, which not only are a big expense, but they don't work. I know I've emailed everyone on all the boards with the traffic studies I did that have video recordings of 4 different intersections. And it shows people absolutely stop for pedestrians. They absolutely stop for cross traffic. But there's no denying that even with the LED flashing signs, you still have people doing a roll stop. Not everyone, but huge percentages depending on the gate. Gate 6, 80% roll stop. That was monitoring 142 cars. Gate 5, 52% roll stop, but that's because that's such a busy intersection that you have so much cross traffic. Via Estrada and Calle Aragon, 91% still roll stop with the LED there. And when I went back there at night, this is a very dark area, those lights are blaring. The time that I was there, at night, 100% of the people roll stopped right past that blaring LED. They don't work. Via Carrizo and Avenue Sociega, 75% still roll stop. So I think these create horrible light pollution. I think they're disturbing, and they don't work, and they're, of course, incredibly expensive. I would suggest we do what the site team asks, which is give them some crosswalks, proper signed crosswalks between stop signs. Maybe some of the most busy areas upgrade to where you could have flashing reflectors on the ground when somebody pushes a button. So those are only going when somebody's there crossing. Let's give the site team what they want. Let's stop this project that doesn't work. I discourage you to do a traffic study because they're expensive, and you have to be very specific about what you want to achieve out of that traffic study. Normally they're traffic counts. They're not giving you the information of, are people fully stopping at these intersections, at these LED stop signs. That's why the most recent studies they were able to find on these LED stop signs were almost 20 years old, because nobody does traffic studies showing that. I did with videotape, minute after minute after minute, car after car. Those are accurate. Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you.
Next speaker is Diane Casey.
She was talking about these stop signs. Should not be doing this in this forum. I just wanted to follow up on what the lady said before, which is, I think one of the most dangerous parts in United is the Estrada going towards Gate 2. I mean, the people that are going down Estrada have no stop sign. And a lot of people do cross there. And I know a fellow came to one of our meetings before to talk about how he was almost hit. So I don't think it was a GRF meeting, but I think it might have been CAC. But anyway, that should be definitely looked at. That area, they're just speeding by and going straight out the gate. And people are driving from the gate to turn on to Mallorca. It's just a bad spot. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read a few letters that were sent in. The first one is from Mohammed Alif, and he stated the following. Dear GRF Board, some couple of weeks ago, we got the news that VMS will charge the cost of clubhouses surrounding area maintenance to individual clubhouses. The cost you came up with increased the user fee for the clubhouses fourfold and more. Would you kindly explain the following? 1, if these areas are carved out of general maintenance service, are we going to get reduction in general maintenance? Is that cost saving passed on to us as lower HOA? 2, I very much doubt we get a reduction in our HOAs. And 3, since we may not see a reduction elsewhere, the increase of 400% or more is completely unreasonable. An increase equal to inflation rate or cost of living is not unreasonable. Anything above that is unreasonable and unwarranted. The next one is from an anonymous Laguna Woods Village member, and they stated, Dear GRF Board, please use the land next...
Point of order. I don't think we can accept anonymous. Siobhan, can you clarify?
We typically require an address
Okay.
to read a comment at the meetings.
Okay, they didn't provide anything of that, so I won't read it then. The next one is from Marilyn Yerk, and they stated, the clubs are a vital part of village life, and many of us move to Laguna Woods because of the clubs. Subsidizing club functions helps preserve both our property values and our quality of life. Dance and other physical activity clubs are important because they are social, recreational, and good for our bodies and brains. And dancing, by the way, requires a much larger room than a discussion club. Village clubs are open to all residents, and the clubs actively encourage residents to join. However, private parties should not be subsidized. Unlike village clubs, private party events are not open to all village residents. Why should all of us pay a subsidy for a wedding or birthday party arranged by one village for his friend? Moreover, the system can be abused, and I have reason to suspect that some private party hosts have profited from arranging events in the village. For example, the resident could say to an outsider, this room will cost you $3,000 compared with $5,000 outside, and then pocket $2,000 knowing that the room only cost him $1,000. In summary, club functions are open to all residents, but private parties are not open to all village residents, and the system can easily be abused if they are subsidized. Thank you for your time. And that is all for open forum.
Okay, thank you. Any director would like to make remarks? Jim? I would like you to respond to the fees as where we're at right now.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, as far as the fees are concerned, any fee paid offsets shared cost or offsets per man or per month. So I think that's a little bit misleading. We are, and I guess this is part of the finance presentation, not presentation, but finance committee. But we did table the issue to research it further, and I won't give you an update on that yet because we're still working through all the numbers, but we did appoint an advisory committee of the treasurer of Third, Margaret Bennett from Mutual 50, and Tom Tuning from United, to actually go through and crawl through the numbers. We believe we have some workable solutions coming forward, but we need to work through the numbers.
Thank you. So would anybody like to remark in regards to the, okay.
Different one.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, just one more thing.
Okay.
About the private parties, I mean, we are all residents here. And so we have every right to schedule a private party, be it for grandkids, kids, etc. That is what it's for. We don't deny the clubs anything, but it's for all of the residents. And so clubs have every right to have their meetings at the clubhouses. But also every resident has the ability to schedule a meeting or an event for them or their immediate family.
Joan?
I was just going to echo what Jim said about private parties. That's one of the perks of living here in the village as a village member. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I think the person that brought that up, they pointed out a different problem, not what, private party for the members. They bringing up a commercial activities. That means people from outside coming in and paying to participate in that event. That's different from private party that I put it for my grandchild or my wife or somebody. That's different. That's commercial activities that they're talking about. So remember the difference, please.
Okay, so Juanita.
I want to thank both Peggy and Diane for their remarks. They were at the Security Access Committee meeting this last week where both of these subjects were discussed. I remind everybody that the flashing stop signs are a pilot project. There are only 19 of them out there, and they are there for 6 months to gather data and see how things go. They are not permanent. We are looking at all aspects of it. I certainly appreciate the information that our various members, and we had quite a few at the committee, to bring forth information about that. As for the other crosswalks, such as Diane mentioned, that's another thing that's been brought to the committee level and is being looked at, and we recognize that crosswalks are an important safety benefit that we have here in the community, and we are certainly looking at all of those.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments, are there further comments by directors? So if there's, okay.
In addition to red stop signs, maybe the flashing crosswalks, as has been suggested, would be a better idea in the long run. I know the study's still going.
I just wanted to add that back when we first started all of this process, we did look at the flashing in the road. That was one of the things that was discussed as well. In addition to painting new crosswalks, there are a lot of options out there, and I know that the security committee is looking at them. And I want to remind everyone of the process here in the village with regards to things that are under the GRF purview. And that would be that everything starts at the committee level. So if you have an idea, and if you don't know which committee that you should take your idea to, certainly the general manager's office or info@vmsinc.org, you can ask and they'll tell you which committee. But that's where all the work starts, is at the committee level. So just, we appreciate everybody coming and commenting, and we often, Yvonne can attest to this, a lot of stuff comes to CAC, but it'll come here first, but it needed to go to CAC first. So just, that's our process, and it just will help you as a resident to perhaps not be frustrated by the process if you start in the right spot. So I just encourage you, if you're not sure, ask, and we're all here listening to you, but let the committees do their work. Thank you.
Thank you. No further comments? Then we'll go to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion. In the event an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items shall be subject of further discussion and action by the board. So the recommendation from the Finance Committee, consistent with the statutory obligations, a subcommittee of the board consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member reviewed and approved preliminary Golden Rain Foundation financials for the month of March 2023. By this vote, ratified that each review be confirmed in this month's board meeting, open session meeting minutes. So, are there any objections? Oh, okay. Are there any objections? So if there's no objections, the consent calendar is approved. So the next item is the unfinished business, which would be the update of the committee appointments. So Joan, will you read the resolution? Thank you.
Resolution 90-23-XX, GRF Committee Appointments. Resolved May 2nd, 2023, that the following persons are hereby appointed and ratified to serve on the committees of this corporation. I shall read the changes and which committees are the same. Community Activities Committee remains the same. Finance Committee remains the same. Information Technology Advisory Committee, ITAC, remains the same. Landscape Committee remains the same. Maintenance and Construction Committee remains the same. Clubhouse Renovation Ad Hoc Committee, Anthony Liberatore from United has been added. Media and Communications Committee remains the same. Website Ad Hoc Committee remains the same. Broadband Ad Hoc Committee remains the same. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Don Tibbetts' chair has been removed. We have a vacancy under GRF. Elsie Addington has been named as chair. Security and Community Access Committee, Don Tibbetts has been removed, and Juanita Skillman will be chair. Gan Mukapati has been added as a temporary GRF representative. On the other committees, Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Allison Bach from United has been removed, and Anthony Liberatore from United has taken her place. Laguna Woods Village Traffic Hearings remains the same. Purchasing Ad Hoc Committee remains the same. The Select Audit Task Force remains the same. Compliance Ad Hoc Committee remains the same. Correspondent Elsie Addington remains the same. El Toro Water District with Juanita Skillman remains the same. Resolved further that Resolution 90-23-14, adopted April 4th, 2023, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we approve this resolution. Debbie second.
You second? Are there any objections? So if there's no objections.
Excuse me, you can't see me through all this plexiglass, and it drives me crazy too. I just have one comment though, Joan, on mobility and vehicles. It says vacant GRF, and I don't think that's right, because Egon and I are still on it. So, I mean,
Right,
no biggie.
there was an alternate. I mean, I think you were.
It's an alternate. It's an alternate position.
So we can put it on there.
I don't care. I was just mentioning it because it looks like, I didn't. So that's the alternate position that's available.
Right, and the word alternate should be in there. You're correct. That's the vacancy.
I was just nitpicking. That's my job.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's appropriate.
Thank you. The next item would
You
be.
need to pass it. Any objections? Any other objections?
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we already did that. All right. Are there any objections? So if there's no objections, the committee appointments is passed. Thank you. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve equestrian care service fees. And this has already completed the 28-day notification for member review per Civil Code 4360. So do I have a motion?
I have to read it.
Please read.
Sorry.
Okay,
I won't read every single fee, I will.
okay.
Resolution 90-23-XX, equestrian care service fees. Whereas the current pricing policy and fees were reviewed to establish fair costs to boarders while providing a high level of horse care and customer service. The proposed additional care service fees were determined after conducting a comprehensive regional cost analysis of similar facilities. CAC recommended the following proposed additional care services fees subject to board approval. Under November 23rd, proposed equestrian care service fees. Under equestrian centers fees, there are 26. Under specialty care services, there are 6. The proposed specialty care services, there were 31 new services proposed. Under proposed show fees, 9 proposed. And under proposed training fees, 2 were proposed. Whereas in 2022, the Equestrian Center piloted a care services program to allow for customized care of boarded horses. And whereas offered care services have proven to be extremely successful with monthly revenue of approximately $1,500, that's $18,000 annually, and have assisted in securing boarded horses that were previously not willing to board at a partial care facility due to the desire for more upscale care and full service offerings. And whereas with the addition of the proposed care services fees, staff estimates an increase in revenue of approximately $9,000 annually. And whereas on March 9th, 2023, the Community Activities Committee recommended the proposed additional equestrian care services fees, and whereas that this resolution supersedes and cancels Resolution 90-21-47, adopted December 7th, 2021. Now therefore be it resolved, May 2nd, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts recommended additional equestrian care services fees, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Do you have a second? Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a few, very few Scribners
Okay,
that I need to share with you guys
okay.
to get this passed. It's minor.
And they're basically just,
There are things like
editing.
have and con and a comma
Oh,
here and
okay.
stuff like that. Really, really minor, but we want it to look good.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, are there any objections? So the equestrian fees, the new equestrian service fees are approved. Thank you. And Joan will edit it. Thank you.
Well, it's minor.
Yeah. All right. So the next item, 12, is new business, and we have several here. So the first one is to entertain a motion to approve appeal policy, and this is, final approval is after the 28-day notification for review. So Joan, do you want to read the resolution?
Sure. Resolution 90-23-XX, Appeals Policy, amended June 6, 2023. Whereas from time to time, resident members seek approval from the Golden Rain Foundation Board of Directors on many matters of corporate business by way of the committee structure for review of a question that will ultimately be determined by the board. And whereas such committees forward recommendations regarding members' requests to the Golden Rain Foundation Board for consideration, and if the proposed request is disapproved, then such decision is subject to appeal to the Golden Rain Foundation Board by the mutual member. Now therefore be it resolved, June 6, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby establishes and adopts the attached appeal policy pertaining to the rights of members to appeal decisions of committees of the board, and as applicable by the board regarding certain corporate business for this corporation. And resolve further, Resolution 90-15-47, adopted September 1st, 2015, is hereby superseded in its entirety and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are directed on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone the final vote for 28 days per Civil Code 4360.
Do you have a
That's
second?
a second.
Is there any discussion? And the only comment I can say is we do have the endorsement from the committee that has reviewed this before it came to the board. So are there any objections? So if there are no objections, the appeal policy is approved based upon a 28-day notification review. Okay. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve, actually it's the modification of the nuisance policy. So Joan, will you read that?
Okay. Resolution 90-23-XX, nuisance policy, adopted June 6, 2023. Whereas on August 2nd, 2022, the Board of Directors adopted the nuisance policy to set forth guidelines for nuisance complaints. And whereas the Compliance Ad Hoc Committee has recognized the need to revise the nuisance policy to provide concise interpretation of the policy. Now therefore be it resolved, June 6, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby revised the nuisance policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolved further that Resolution 90-22-35, adopted August 2nd, 2022, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone the final vote for 28 days per Civil Code 4360. Second. Debbie seconds it. Thank you.
Is there any discussion? And I also want to comment, we have the endorsement based upon the committee is for this modified nuisance policy. So are there any objections? So if there are no objections, then this policy is approved based upon a 28-day review. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve modified harassment policy. So
Resolution 90-23-XX, harassment policy, adopted June 6, 2023. Whereas the Board of Directors of Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, GRF, adopted the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation policy to allow for a joint committee to be created with United Laguna Woods Village United and Third Laguna Hills Mutual Third. And whereas the United and Third Board of Directors elected not to adopt the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation policy, and whereas the Compliance Ad Hoc Committee has recognized the need to adopt the harassment policy to set forth guidelines for harassment complaints received by the GRF Board. Now therefore, be it resolved, June 6, 2023, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the harassment policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolve further that Resolution 90-23-03, adopted January 3, 2023, is hereby superseded and canceled. And further, resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes today and postpone the final vote for 28 days per Civil Code 4360.
Second, okay.
I have some other scriveners that need to be corrected within the policy itself, but they're simply scriveners, does
Okay.
not change the policy. And if I may, I can share it with Lucilda and get that done. Or-
Okay, thank you.
Well, however you think it's best.
Okay.
I have a question or comment. So basically what we're doing is we're just, this is our original policy and we're just updating and tightening it based on what we had been discussing. Okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify.
Well, it came about, remember, when we were trying to pass a board for all three.
Right.
Boards. So when that didn't pass, then we had to come back to our policies and update them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Where am I, Joe? Okay.
Take a
All
vote.
right. Any
Vote.
more discussion?
Yeah, any more
Okay. Any more discussion? No further discussion? Are there any objections? So if there's no objections, the harassment policy is approved for a 28-day review. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve the Aquadet's request for exception to GRF poster policy.
Resolution 90-23-XX, Aquadet's request for exception to GRF poster policy. Whereas the GRF poster policy allows advertising with posters for events held at the Performing Arts Center or Clubhouse 5, and whereas the Aquadets requested for an exception to the GRF poster policy for the Aquadets fundraiser event at Clubhouse 1 and the Aqua Follies show at Pool 1. And whereas the Aquadets are requesting an exception to the GRF poster policy to place 2 event posters at the following facilities. 1, first poster is Doug Houston and Barbecue Dinner fundraiser poster from May 17th through June 17th. And a second poster for Aqua Follies show poster July 10th through August 10th. And the list of clubhouses is Clubhouse 1, Clubhouse 2, the Performing Arts Center, Clubhouse 4, Clubhouse 5, Recreation Office, and the 19 Restaurant and Lounge. Whereas on April 13th, 2023, the Community Activities Committee reviewed the club request and recommended an exception to the GRF poster policy for the Aquadets fundraiser at Clubhouse 1 and the Aqua Follies show at Pool 1. And whereas the Aquadets have been offering an annual summer Aqua Follies show to Laguna Woods Village residents and their guests for over 55 years at Pool 1. And whereas the dimensions of the posters are 11 by 17 inches and 33 by 40 inches, that's the Performing Arts Center poster size. And whereas the Aquadets posters would be advertised for 31 days each prior to the events. Now therefore be it resolved May 2nd, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the exception to the GRF poster policy for the Aquadets fundraiser at Clubhouse 1 and the Aqua Follies show at Pool 1, and resolve further that the officers and agents of the corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution.
Do you have a second? Oh, second, okay.
I didn't move. I need someone else to.
Oh, I'll move.
Okay, Deb moves and Reza seconds.
Okay. So, discussion,
Right
so
here.
my,
Right here.
okay, all right.
Yeah, right here. too.
If you look at your attachment, the recreation center, the 2 posters that they want to place over there, I don't think that we should put them over there. That's a very small area.
and the people won't be able to move around in that office with those big posters in there.
So on the resolution, which one is that for the performing
On
arts?
attachment 2, if you look at number 7,
Okay,
that should be removed. Yeah,
No,
it's the request for the exception.
here it is, on page 2 of attachment 2.
oh, okay.
So that should be under, number 7 should be removed.
That's right.
There really
Is there
is
another place for it?
That's what I was going to say too.
Page 9 of 10.
9 of 10.
I found,
It's page 8 of 10 under item 12D. 8 of 10.
8 of 10, okay. Okay.
Also, I have
I'm
a-
sorry, I didn't realize that this was going to be on there, and if that area is so small over there, we cannot put a couple of big
Yes, it
posters
is.
in there. I'm sorry.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing, Yvonne. I also have a question. I also have a question about 19 restaurant.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't see a place to put it unless it's going to be on an easel.
Well, these are going to be on an easel too in there, so.
No.
So,
Well,
the
there
o-
isn't room
the-
for an easel in there.
yeah.
Okay, so Debbie and.
No,
Dan.
I was just going to ask Yvonne, what about on an easel somewhere here, out in our lobby? I mean, is there an alternative for them?
Say that again?
Is there an alternative? I agree, there's not enough room in the rec office at all for that, but I was wondering if we could potentially offer them an alternative.
Well, I suppose, over against the four wall where
If I
the
could
mailbox
interject,
is.
our,
I'm sorry?
our policy is not to put easels in the lobby of the
Right.
community
Okay.
center
Okay.
or the
Okay.
hallways.
So they can't really.
So that
they
doesn't
can't.
work.
No,
Okay.
Thank you.
That won't
I
work.
didn't know that.
I have a question. Regarding these resolutions that we have regarding the poster policy, are these resolutions shown on the notice board so that club representatives and others, residents at large, know about these resolutions? Are these posted on the notice boards in the club houses?
Okay, I can't
Are
answer
the
that
events
because I
posted
didn't-
on notice boards?
Okay,
All right.
I didn't hear what he said, so can you?
Okay. Are the events posted on notice boards now? Yes,
Flyers
flyers and,
all over the village, yeah.
and I think these events are also posted, are they not? They are posted, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
they are.
Okay,
I have a question still about.
Thank you.
19 restaurant. There isn't room for a stand unless they're either on the patio or, I mean, there really isn't room by the door. I don't know. Yvonne, Siobhan, what do you think?
Let us take a look. I'm not sure what is available over there, but we will take a look and report
Just-
back.
Okay,
Yes.
that's swell. But otherwise, we could,
But we're looking for a modification.
I just know that we can't put those posters over there in the rec department. I don't know what.
oh, the rec department posters in 19? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, no.
Oh, in the rec department, in the rec department, no.
That's the only one. I don't know about.
Well, I do, about 19. I know there's not much room.
Okay, so
I have one more question.
Debbie?
Yeah, okay, so maybe Siobhan can answer, if not, I can take it to communications. The TV that displays out here in the hallway, can they put it on there?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
So it will be displayed in this building somewhere, so that's fine. Okay, no.
Okay,
Any other objections?
okay, but we need to have a modification, an amendment based upon
Well-
which of these numbers we're going to remove.
We're going to, well, it's been proposed, amended that we remove number 7.
Number 7, okay.
Are there any objections to removing number 7?
Yes, are there any objections?
Number 3, whereas, under the resolution is what we need.
Yes, right.
Yes, that
Recreation office, take out. And I have a question about 19, frankly. So, you want to remove that for now, or?
I think we ought to,
Yeah, let's.
go ahead and remove it, and then,
Let's remove 19 and with the advisement from staff.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
yes?
I assume that we have a requirement when the display is, what are the distances, what are the requirement for having, because you cannot block walkways, you cannot do this. There should be a procedure for it, right? So if only add a statement here, if in case, a space must be available for any of these. Other than that, the display is not going to work, rather than working on each one of them, sitting here and assuming what it looked like. So if the statement says space available according to the regulations, then they can display it, rather than us to decide for each individual area what's going on.
Right.
So
That's all
he's
I'm
asking
requesting.
us to add the words on there, if space is available.
Well, we could add it under the third whereas and say, after August, let's see, requesting 2 posters, let's see how we can do it. Provided space is available.
Correct.
Let's put it after the list, provided space is available.
Yeah, adequate space is available for the display.
And that will take care of recreation office and
Yeah, take care of
19,
everything.
and they're gonna check, so,
If it's not available, they won't display
yeah,
it.
that's good. Okay, thank you. So maybe you should see if there are any objections to that amendment. No. Okay, if there are none, okay, then now as amended.
Okay.
Oh,
Any other objections?
Or
I mean,
other-
any other
other-
discussion? Okay.
are you okay
So-
with that?
So, any objections to the did I just say that? Any objections to the amendment to the resolution? If there are no objections, then the amendment to the resolution is approved. Thank you.
No, the resolution's approved as amended.
As amended. Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, okay. All right. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve the donation of the Hearing Well Club installation of a hearing loop in the community center Elm Room. So would you read that, please?
Resolution 90-23-XX, donation of installation of hearing loop in the community center Elm Room. This agreement entered into this second day of May 2023, is by and between the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, and Hearing Well Club, the donor, installation of hearing loop in community center Elm Room. Whereas GRF and donor recognize the importance of community facilities and amenities, and whereas GRF and donor acknowledge the benefit of donations when they have a purpose consistent with GRF goals and are in the best interest of Laguna Woods Village. And whereas the Hearing Well Club donor has offered to provide installation of a hearing loop in Community Center Elm Room. And whereas the Recreation and Special Events Department Director or Financial Services Director has reviewed and affirms the proposed donation meets the criteria for acceptance contained in the GRF donation policy. That is, it meets a true need of the facility, does not interfere with the intended current or future use of the facility, and does not require the relocation of other equipment or infrastructure to accommodate the donation. Now therefore be it resolved, May 2nd, 2023, that GRF and donor, in accordance with the described conditions and obligations hereinafter set forth, agree as follows. This is boilerplate from the donation policy. Section 1, the donation known as installation of hearing loop in Community Center Elm Room described below is donated in its entirety to GRF, hereafter owned by GRF and managed on behalf of the residents of Laguna Woods Village by Village Management Services, Inc., VMS. Section 2, the donation description. It's an installation of hearing loops the space of the facility is the community center Elm Room, location is the community center Elm Room. Section 3, the amount of the donation, the item cost is 0, installation cost is 0, maintenance cost is 0, total estimated donation, 0. Section 4, GRF reserves the right to move or remove and or retire the donation following cessation of a 5-year period. The term shall commence upon the date entered into and indicated above. Section 5, GRF will not replace the donation of community space improvement if it is stolen, vandalized, worn out, irreparably damaged, destroyed, or expires. Section 6, installation and maintenance. GRF shall be responsible for the installation and maintenance of the item, including any reasonable repairs. Section 7, term. The term of this agreement is a minimum of 5 years or beyond, if applicable, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move we approve this resolution. Debbie seconds it.
Any discussion?
Yvonne.
In section 3, it's saying that the maintenance cost is 0. In section 6, it says installation, and it also says maintenance. If there are installation and maintenance, GRF shall be responsible for installation and maintenance of this item.
But the donation is the installation. I'm sorry. The donation is the installation. Whatever it costs to put it in. But there's no figure. I agree. How much when they're going to use the same? Go ahead.
It's reasonable repairs, I'm just saying.
Whatever it costs here in this here, for the hearing loop here in this room.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm assuming that the quote that they get from the company to install it includes the device and the installation.
Yeah.
but shouldn't that quote be in here? Since this is a donation, what is the cost of the donation?
Right.
Under section 3. Siobhan?
Yeah, but
Allison want to talk.
I'm just saying, if installation and maintenance, GRF shall be responsible for installation and maintenance of the item.
Well, but the donation.
Reasonable repairs.
But the donation in this case is the installation.
It's the
That is
installation.
what
I mean,
It's the installation and the actual loop itself.
Isn't there a cost?
I know what the intent was.
We can fix the
I know
resolution.
what, yeah. Hi, Allison.
Hello.
I think there needs to be a cost in there somewhere.
Yeah, they didn't provide us an actual cost. They just said they would cover all the costs of the installation and the device, so.
That cost should be in here so we know how much it is.
We can,
The donation is.
yeah.
We know how much, we need to know how much the donation is.
We can obtain that from them, but we don't have it right now.
But you'll put it in?
Yes.
Okay. Cost to be added. Okay, cost will be added.
Yeah.
Okay.
To satisfy one, I think you should read that it says, although GRF is responsible for installation and maintenance, all of that, the costs will be covered by donation.
That's what it says. That's what it says in the very first
I
paragraph.
know, but she was picking on the last statement, saying that it only says that everything is belong to GRF. If at the end of that, it says cost of it is covered by the donation, then that
Section
clears
6.
it up for people that might have misunderstood.
I don't know.
Section 6 needs to be amended. Section 6
Yeah.
of the resolution needs to
It'll
be
be
amended.
edited by you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what I'm getting at.
They'll take care of it. All right. You can vote now.
I have a question.
So,
I have
did
a
you want to
question.
say something, Gary?
Go back to section 6. Responsibility goes to GRF for installation and management. There is a cost somehow, but it is being borne by somebody else.
Right.
So why don't you correct that sentence and
That's what
say
it talks
who is
about.
responsible
That's what it
rather than GRF is responsible?
That's exactly what we
Who's going
said.
to do that?
It's going to be done by staff.
By the staff, right?
Yeah.
And I'll read it again.
Then I think I want to emphasize on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you have everything you need?
Any further
Are we ready to vote?
Can we approve?
Okay. Are there any objections to the amended resolution? If there's no objections, then the amended resolution is approved, and staff will make that correction on there. Okay, so the next item. Yeah. The next item is entertain a motion to approve Executive Hearings Committee resolution. So I just basically want to make a comment that the GRF Board has recognized the need to establish Executive Hearings Committee. For a long time, you know, these hearing committees, when there was a disciplinary matter that need to come to a hearing, that this was actually went to the mutuals. And so recently we've changed our policies to basically say that if there is an incident that occurs on GRF property, that it will come to a GRF hearing board. And so there was a need there to be able to establish a hearing board and the resolution in order to accomplish that. So Joan, do you want to read the resolution?
Sure. Resolution 90-23-XX, establishment of an executive hearings committee for the purpose of hearing disciplinary matters, adopted May 2nd, 2023. Whereas the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF bylaws, Section 4.4, discipline or suspension, Section 4.4.2, disciplinary action by board. The board may take disciplinary and suspension action against any mutual member, qualifying residents, co-occupant, tenant, and their guests for breach of the governing documents. Any disciplinary or suspension action authorized hereunder shall not act as a bar to exercise of any other right or remedy. And whereas GRF recognizes the need to establish an executive hearings committee for the sole purpose of hearing disciplinary matters. Now therefore be it resolved, May 2nd, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby establishes the Executive Hearings Committee with full autonomy and authority for the sole purpose of hearing and acting upon disciplinary hearing matters. And further resolved that the Executive Hearings Committee composition will be, add that, as follows. 1, comprised of 3 directors and 1 alternate director. Please spell out the words. Number 2, address alleged violations of GRF's governing documents and also on GRF property. 3, to be held in a closed meeting monthly as needed, and resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are directed on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Rest a second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I thought that was fine.
Juanita?
First of all, I just want to say historically, it's not that the GRF board has not taken disciplinary matters into effect, but they have been done at our closed board meeting by the full board. This just makes it an easier matter to handle. But secondly, I think that with all that's going on right now in the mutuals, because of the law that went into effect January 1st, allowing room rentals, that we should add the word renter after tenant, because there is a difference. And we want to make sure that they are covered. I think that's where we may have some of our disciplinary problems.
Tenants in there.
In the first
paragraph.
First paragraph.
Where did you want it? Which paragraph?
The first paragraph, co-occupant, tenant, or renter.
What's the difference between tenant and renter?
Yeah, I agree, because now with the Airbnb, because they're going to be like monthly versus the tenant that is more permanent.
Is there another word? Because renter and tenant are the same typically, but there might be another word.
Lessee?
Yeah, whatever.
No, because
No.
they might not be signing.
They're
anything
not. They're
official.
room rentals.
I think we ought, you can put lessee in there because we don't rent, we lease.
The new law is renting.
Right, I know.
Elsie?
How about short?
Lessees are all co-op members are lessees. And we can sublet,
Right,
but then the sublet, you can also rent individual rooms. So the policies that are going through, at least United, is room rentals.
okay,
And those only have to be for 30 days.
right,
And so we're looking at there may be a,
okay, all right. This is
Lot more
further
through.
clarification.
I still have a
Okay.
contribution. Are you done, Juanita?
yes, ma'am?
You're sure? Okay.
Elsie?
How about putting short-term renters? I mean, it doesn't sound real la-di-da professional, but it says what it is.
Short-term renters.
I mean,
that.
that's just
I
a
like that.
suggestion.
So
And it-
we're amending this, any
That should cover the
objection?
Airbnbers, the 30-dayers, the,
One day, yeah.
assuming, of course, they're illegal, that they're registered with anybody.
That's a different question.
Pardon?
Add short-term renters.
Right, that's right, add short-term rentals. Okay, and are there any objections to the amendment to the resolution? So if there's no objections, the amendment to the resolution is passed. The resolution is passed along with the amendment to it. Okay. So the next item is discussion, and basically it's discussion because we're going to bring it up at the compliance meeting, which is tomorrow. And basically, oh, thank you. So GRF also has a resolution for an occupancy fee. And based upon the occupancy policies that the mutuals have, that a GRF fee is charged for anybody over 2 people. So when you rent a room, you have a third or fourth person. So the GRF policy basically says at this point in time that we charge $100. And so my thinking is that we need to raise that also. But we will review that in the compliance committee and then bring it to the board at the next board meeting. Okay, Elsie?
I know we're going to talk about it some more, but I'd like to think along the lines, unless there's something statutory, excuse me, that I don't know about. There's going to be a lot of times when these short-term renters are going to be the second person in there. And so there's not going to be, and there's going to still be a lot of extra administrative time. In other words, they're not going to qualify for the $100 per man or per month additional
Right,
fee.
because it's for up to 2. Yeah.
Because it is now.
Right.
But I'd like to see a worded thing, if we could, so for regular, well, I hate to say regular, but for normal, with the situation as it is now, the third person is great. But the way it's going to be in the future, I'd like to see it $100 per man or per month per sub lessee or whatever you want to call it. I mean, just think about it. I mean, we all think it's a great idea, I'm sure, but whether we can word it and fit it into existing law, I'm not positive. So.
Well, that's, and the other thing that has to be discussed in the committee with staff is how we administrate it.
Right. I just wanted to throw
Yeah.
that into the mix, that's all.
Yeah. So, okay, Joan?
May I suggest that I read the resolution and then move it to committee?
Okay.
It'll go to the compliance committee for further review, and that's it. And then it'll come back to us.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so let me read the resolution and move it.
I'm
sorry.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that anything that we make is not encroaching on mutuals, the housing. The only time that we can charge if they're using amenities. So if somebody goes there on Airbnb for a month, but there is no request for use of amenities, do we have the right to charge for GRF?
Yes.
Because we only have jurisdiction on the, on the amenities, not the housing part. I just want to make sure that we don't, step on somebody's toes.
You're on that committee, so you get to say something.
Yes.
Well,
We don't
I'm
need
saying
to
it for
discuss
everyone
it
to
now.
hear.
Don't
We'll
discuss it
discuss
now.
it further in detail. Okay. Juanita?
Yeah, I think we are just a little ahead of ourselves. I just hate to have to bring this up again next month, but at least from United, and I cannot speak for Third, they're still debating their policy on the room rentals. But the way it is written and the way they foresee it is anybody who rents a room gets a membership card and access to all of the amenities. So that means whether it's short-term, long-term, whatever, at this point, they're looking at giving them GRF accessibility. And so I think we need to make sure that and there are a couple of us that are on that committee, the Governing Docs Committee, and we'll bring that back to the board. And the only reason I amended this motion was I didn't want to have to bring it back another time, but there is a lot, and we do need to talk to Third. I don't know what they're doing for their room rentals.
So and then Yvonne, but I read the same policy for United, and it does have a stipulation that it's anything over 2 people in a unit.
Right, but
even in the new policy.
As Elsie pointed out, I have a 2-bedroom unit. There's just me. I live alone. If I
Right.
rent out my other bedroom, there's still only 2 people.
That's right.
Although
That's right.
the other person would be a renter.
Right.
This is not the time to discuss this,
We'll
folks. Point of order.
We'll discuss it. Thank
Let
you.
me read it and refer to committee, and then all these things need to come to the compliance committee.
Okay.
Resolution 90-19-57, GRF additional fee of $100 for each additional occupant over 2. Whereas the GRF assessment for net operating costs and reserve contributions is divided equally by the number of units in the community, regardless of how many individuals occupy a unit. And whereas an additional occupant fee is charged for each individual in excess of 2 occupants residing in the unit to account for additional use of community services and facilities. And whereas the board periodically reviews fees as part of the business planning process to determine adequacy of revenues and shared costs. Now therefore be it resolved December 3rd, 2019, that the board of directors of this corporation hereby sets the additional occupant fee of $100 per man or per month for each additional occupant over 2 to offset costs incurred by the extra occupants, to be effective January 1st, 2020. Resolve further that such fees shall be reflected on the fee schedule. And resolve further that Resolution 90-17-28 adopted September 5th, 2017 is hereby superseded and canceled on the effective date of January 1st, 2020. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we refer this resolution back to committee, the compliance committee in particular, for further review and refinement. And Deb seconded it.
And now we can discuss.
Okay,
Now,
is there any discussion?
It doesn't need discussion as whether or not it'll be referred.
Okay, except Diane wants to speak.
Yeah. I would say that most of the time when you have the two occupants, they're not paying anybody rent, but now we're dealing with rent,
Right.
So I think it's a different situation and that they should pay a GRF fee because they're paying rent. So then the owner, is having to, supplement GRF for that extra expense.
Any renter.
And so I don't think it should be two. I think you need to consider that in consideration. I mean, in your
Okay.
committee.
All right, thank you. All right. All right, Elsie?
I'm sorry, what committee are we referring it back to? This was just.
Compliance.
Compliance.
Oh,
Compliance
this goes to
committee.
compliance because it was under G, member occupancy.
Okay, this is a resolution from, get the date, December 3rd, 2019.
Right, no, I know that.
This whole
That's-
thing has to be referred. And that's all we're voting on, is whether to refer it to committee or not.
No, I just asked what committee it is.
Oh,
compliance.
Compliance.
Thank you.
It's already on the agenda. Okay.
Go to the, I have a clarification I need. Go to the fourth paragraph, which says that there will be an additional fee, GRF fee of $100. I believe there is an existing, according to the existing rules, there is a fee.
That's right.
So it is in addition, so I would like to clarify that on that line, that in addition to the existing
Right.
50 feet.
It's up here, additional occupant, okay, additional, right, it's an additional fee. That's correct, Gan, it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Point of order.
I have a feeling that the way I read it, is a GRF additional fee of $100.
Excuse me, point of order.
Over, in addition.
Point of order, sir, point of order.
I didn't hear what you said. There's too many people
The-
talking.
Point of order.
Okay.
This is being referred to committee
For
for further
discussion.
discussion.
Right.
We don't need to discuss it here.
This is not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any objections? So if there's no objections.
Yeah, I
Mrs.
object that we don't have a hearing loop.
Yeah, where is that?
Bennett? Okay. So if there's no
Waiting for
objections,
donation.
this is going to be referred, and it is already on the compliance agenda. Okay. So thank you. Okay. All right. Do you want to take a break or do you want to move on?
Yes.
Uh-oh, we have somebody that wants to take a break. So it's 10:58. Let's do 10 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
5 minutes.
Okay, we want to resume our meeting, and the next on the agenda is the committee reports. So I will turn the meeting over to Finance, to Jim Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Where is my audience? Everybody left. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me begin with the financial report. And will you show the first chart, please? Wonderful. Okay, now here we are. The first chart includes all revenues and expenses, including those designated for reserves, including investment income, the transfer facility fees, and the GRF reserve portion of the HOA fees. It also includes the contingency portion of our HOA fees. Through the reporting period of March 31st, 2023, GRF had a net revenue of $1,297,000 with a total revenue of $13,084,000, and of course a total expense of $11,787,000. GRF was better than budget by $559,000, with total expenses coming in at $95,000 better than anticipated. The favorable results seen in the expenses were increased by higher revenues of $464,000. This was due to unrealized gain on available for sale investments, which was partially offset by the sell-off of poor performing investments, which caused a realized loss in the expense side of the financial statements. I know that's a lot of accounting, so I won't bore you with the details of that. It's just to say it did not impact our operating expenses. But yeah, can you hold it until I finish my report? Thank you. The next chart displays the operating fund, which excludes the non-operating revenues that we just mentioned, and expenses, and also the depreciation. This report shows a favorable variance of $607,000 through the reporting period, with expenses better than budget by $876,000, and it's offset by revenue worse than budget of $269,000. Slide 3, please. Okay. Now this slide reflects the current market value of the GRF Reserve discretionary investment portfolio and the original market value at the time of inception. The current market value of the GRF portfolio is $18,459,000 as of March 31st, 2023. And that's compared to a value at inception of $19,031,000. The year-to-date market value increased by $250,000, or 1.4%, and decreased by $572,000, or 3%, since inception in 2019. In March, the value increased by $250,000. And after the presentation, I'm going to give you a kind of wrap-up of where we are and where we've been on that journey with our investments. Slide 4, please. Of the $18,459,000 portfolio mentioned in slide 3, $15,877,000 is held with our reserves portfolio value. In addition to the discretionary investments, the reserve fund assets also include cash of $3,994,000 and a non-discretionary investments of $12,407,000. Payables and other total $161,000, resulting in a net reserve balance of $32,117,000. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, back to the operating fund, okay, which has a more significant impact on our HOA assessments. This slide shows the most significant operating variances by category, with the green bars representing favorable variances and the orange bars representing unfavorable variances. In the favorable category, employee compensation and related expenses of are favorable by $546,000. And that's primarily due to vacancies, which we've said in the past, in general services for bus drivers, security services, gate ambassadors, and other maintenance operations. Also, construction and information services are below their targets on compensation. Also, materials and supplies, and that's primarily due to the over-accrual of expenses for 2022. But this is the over-accrual in expenses for 2022 leads to a reversal of some of those accruals in 2023. So that's an accounting entry that does affect our operating budget. Professional fees are $113,000 in positive due to the timing of consulting services needed for broadband services and project management. And what that means is timing is those expenses is simply been moved down in the calendar and not necessarily avoided. And the other operating expenses of $104,000 also due to timing of some of the education services and the staff support and uniforms. Again, the current variance or positive variance here is due to the expenses not being incurred just yet. On the unfavorable side, broadband services is unfavorable by $154,000. Again, that's due to the timing of the Village Breed sponsorship income, which we will receive later on this year. So again, here's a timing issue where we do expect the revenue to increase there, but it's due to timing. We plan for it sooner than we actually will realize it. And the other is net allocation to the mutuals, and that's just due to less expense year to date than budgeted, and that's causing less to get allocated to the other mutuals, Slide 6, please. Okay. Now, this slide shows our sources of revenue other than the assessments, such as fees and rentals. To date, we have received just over $2,310,000 of non-assessment operating revenue. As shown in this pie chart, by category, we can see that our largest revenue is broadband services, and that's followed by golf revenue, clubhouse rentals, and event fees. Okay. Other revenue, which includes class fees, additional occupancy, RV storage fees, and locker rental fees, amount to 14%. Again, these revenues offset cost and keep our assessments down. Slide 7, please. Now, this chart shows, as usual, that our largest operating expense is compensation, and that's followed by cable and programming expense. Of the $9.7 million, excluding depreciation, these two categories account for 74% of the total operating expense. Professional and legal, utility and fuel, insurance and repairs and maintenance, etc., make up the remaining 26%. If you consider that cable and programming are offset by broadband revenues, compensation accounts for 70% of the net expense, while insurance, utilities, outside services account for 30% of the net operating expense. Next page, please. Sure. The reserve and restricted funds adjusted balances are shown here in slide 8. Starting with the first column on the left, the reserve funds have a combined ending balance of $37.1 million. Restricted fund balances have an ending balance of $4 million. Including in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust fund facilities fees, and investment earnings. The second column shows the work in process of about $5 million for reserves and $121,000 for the restricted, that is the contingency, reflecting these amounts paid for projects that are not yet completed. The third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balance of $32.1 million for the reserve and $3.9 million for the restricted fund. Number 9, slide 9, please. We have a slide here that shows the resale history. And as you can see, in March, we had a real uptick in our sales, which results in the year-to-date for 2023 actually just about equal to the year-to-date in 2022. So I'm not sure that's a trend, but it certainly is a nice point on the graph right now on a year-to-date basis. And of course, both of those exceeded 2021. So it looks very positive for 2023 thus far. Slide 10, please. Now, the listing on this slide gives you an idea of where the reserve money is committed. Of the $20.3 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances against our reserves is $15.8 million. And that's primarily for the purchase and replacement of equipment through the facilities, throughout the facilities. Restricted funds had a total appropriation of $98,000 and a remaining encumbrance of $20,000. Next chart. Now, when we compare our adjusted fund balance to historical balances for the past 5 years on the next chart, showing that GRF has an average of $26.9 million in reserve funds and $2.3 million in contingency. So as you can realize, we are far above that average as we continue to increase our reserve funds. And as I promised when I showed you chart 3 on our reserve or our portfolio, I wanted to kind of give you a wrap up of what has transpired in the last, say, 6 months, because there's been a lot of discussion on that reserve. In fact, there was much discussion that was I'll call it trying to persuade the board to change and sell our portfolio in favor of Treasury funds. So would you show the next chart? Oh, there we are. Now, as you know, timing is everything, and we resisted that pressure to sell at the time because we felt that we had a strategy that would allow us to optimize the market value of our portfolio prior to selling. Obviously, interest rates were rising very fast, the fastest in the history of rising of interest rates. And so it caught us all by surprise. And so what that means is when you're invested in bond funds, and even though the yield to maturity is absolutely, they're United States bond funds, so the yield to maturity, while it's not guaranteed, it certainly is a fairly protected, and we can rest assured. However, the market value of those bond funds, when one can buy bonds at 4%, a bond fund that averages 1.5% to 2% loses its value. And so market value goes down. If you sell at that down point, you have actually lost your funds, period. If you wait it out, you'll get a lower return, but you will get a return. So the question then becomes, at what time would you sell that portfolio, and do you sell it at once, or do you sell the pieces of it? Because each bond fund has a different profile in terms of both yield and market value. So what we decided to do is, working with our portfolio manager at Sageview, was to, and based on his advice, is to wait it out until the funds started to bounce upward, funds. And what happened as we got caught in 2021, as the funds started to decrease, it actually bounces down month to month. You may have 1 month up, another month down, but the trend is definitely down. The same thing happens on its way back to recovery. It bounces up, it bounces down, but the trend is to bounce up. So what we ask our portfolio manager to do is, when it bounces up, based by funds, individual funds, okay, you pick the timing, because we don't see it, we see it once a month. You pick the timing and the fund, and you convert to a treasury, because we thought that was the best strategy. So as you look through the portfolio, and I'll turn your attention to December, our inception, when we went back to December 2019, and by the way, we invested in bond funds at that time as a result of an ad hoc committee that thought it best to invest in bond funds as opposed to where we were invested before, in bonds. And that, because of bonds were actually lower than bond funds, because bond funds at that point had not reacted to the very, very low interest rate. The result was we actually had a gain through 2020, a gain of $791,000, and you see that at the second row. And then in 2021, it started to come down. Okay, it kind of caught all of us by surprise, the rapidity of which it came down. So as a result of all of that, we took losses in 2022, significant, and what we saw was that in March of 2023, okay, or actually in November 2023, November, December, and I believe January, it started to rise, okay? And by the way, that was, and so the fund manager decided, look, when it rises like that, we need to take advantage of it and get the market value as well as the higher interest rates of new treasuries. And that's what he did. The result of that was, in April, our portfolio balance had recovered, and I'll refer to you to the lower chart, okay? And it shows what our low was, low value of our portfolio in October, all right? It also shows that where we are today, all right, which is roughly $838,000 higher than our lowest. And that's a result, and I might say, point out also, that we are currently now entirely in treasuries as a result of the transition. But the transition that was made was one, is what I would call a more measured transition based on the best advice of our portfolio manager. And so he was able to pick the best time for each one of our funds, and we had 5 of them, for each one of our funds to transition to treasuries, right? And so in doing that, he was able, by the end of April, to get $838,000, mostly from those trades, okay, which amounts to a 4.7% increase over our low. Annualized, that would be a 9.4%, all right? Now, had we sold in October 2022, when it was suggested strongly that we do so, our portfolio balance, our portfolio would have taken advantage of essentially, and I'm going to assume, a 4% interest rate, but we would have lost, we would have had a realized loss, not an unrealized loss, of roughly $1.3 million, Okay. However, by selling in a much more intelligent way, we were able to pick up $838,000 prior to moving into treasuries. That results in a better position by approximately $482,000 had we sold in October of 2022. So it kind of validates looking at things with a little bit better attention to detail and the accounting rules. And I might add that the banks today hold trillions of dollars of bond funds. And they have basically had the same issue going on in what it looks like. The stronger banks who have cash, okay, they hold on because they know it's just what it looks like as opposed to what it is. So I think we made the right call, but I thought I'd just wrap it up today so that, because we're done now, we've converted to treasuries, and I thought we'd wrap it up to see what may have happened had we decided to acquiesce to the pressure. So.
One question, are we in treasury funds or treasury bills?
Treasuries, bills.
Just treasuries,
Bills,
but no
yes.
fund, no
The
mutual fund
funds.
type of thing?
The
Okay.
funds tend to react slower,
Okay,
because it's a lot of treasury bills within those funds.
right.
And so it's easier to buy, but they react slower, both going up and coming down. In normal times, it's just a lag, okay? In times where the interest rate either drops very quickly or goes up very rapidly, the funds are caught off guard. They can't change that fast,
Right.
okay? And so, the strategy is always to hold tight. That would be the strategy, okay? And that's what the banks do. I mean, they have trillions of dollars in bond funds. So I think it's a lesson learned for all of us. The other lesson that I'm learning is because of all of the accounting rules and everything else, it's very difficult to explain this, okay? And so there's a tendency to react to what we see and not understand what we see. And if we can't explain what we see, we perhaps react in the wrong ways. It was tough. It's tough to hold on, no understanding. But this whole thing called mark-to-market, and by the way, if the standard for recording treasuries was mark-to-market rather than hold to maturity, and I know that's accounting gibberish, but if the standard were the same, it probably would suffer the same results. Because when you mark a treasury fund, especially in high very quick interest rate changes, if I'm holding on to an 11-month treasury, and I just treasury and the interest rate had just gone from 1% to 2%, that 1% treasury that I hold on to now has been devalued. And you think about it. And so if I need to sell it because I need liquidity, the only people that would offer me anything for it would say, hey, look, I'll take it, but I'll take it at a discount. That's what happened to bond funds. So a lot of it is accounting and what it looks like, to the point, and I made this point maybe 2 or 3 times, that FDR actually banned mark-to-market in 1938. He banned it because of what the uninitiated saw. And of course, in this environment, the uninitiated can rule the day. So now perception is everything, whether it's real or not. So I think we made the right moves, we'll just have to move forward now. As I have looked at it now that we're all in treasuries, it looks like we'll recover in about 6 months, maybe 6 or 7 months, maybe a little sooner. We will recover our inception balance, and from there we'll just move on. So, thank you.
So I want to thank you, Jim, for being so prudent with our investments and transparent. And I really appreciate it, and these reports show that it's paid off for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You've done a lot of work for this, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
So,
I want to say one thing.
okay.
I want to also thank Jim for just, I mean, we've all had our conversations and when Jim mentioned strongly suggested, I want to mention that was not us, and that was the suggestions, we take the strong suggestions from our portfolio manager. And so the strong suggestions were from outside that were trying to get us to sell. And of course, everybody has to think about that, right? They hear everybody, because we take it to heart. Our fiduciary responsibility is very important to us. So I just want to thank again, Jim, for doing that. And I'm glad, hey, I'm not going to lie, I was nervous, but I'm very glad we did what we did, and we took the advice of the experienced portfolio managers that we hired based on their experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is the report from the Community Activities Committee, Director Horton.
I think I have Finance Committee.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were
And
done. Okay,
last
go
but
ahead.
not least, we had a very active meeting this last time. Of course, up on the table was the room rental fees. And we decided to take that on, not necessarily to do anything with it, but to take it on so that we could table it. And of course, when we did table it, that then negated the ability for some to voice their opinions. And so my motion to table it resulted in an amendment to table it after the comments were made. So we took those comments, and we are considering those. And so as a result, I appointed an advisory committee made up of Margaret Bennett from Mutual 50, Donna Rain Solzak from the treasurer of Third, and Tom Tuning from United. And that group, that advisory committee, will take it upon themselves to study the whole issue of how we develop rates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that committee will meet sometime this week. I've spent a lot of time with finance committee, team, staff finance, to crawl through the kinds of things that we need to see in order to make the right decisions. So we are listening, and I see that we will be coming out with a solution probably by the end of by next meeting. That's my target. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Yvonne, you're next.
Thank you. Well, at our last CAC meeting, it was attended by an overflow crowd. There were representatives from many clubs. We had over 30 speakers. All were opposed to the room rate increases. This resolution was returned to the Finance Committee for further analysis, as was just explained. I do want to thank all those that did attend for keeping the meeting orderly and respectful. Looking forward, please don't forget to attend the Club Expo and the annual Renaissance Fair. And that's really all I have to report, except our next meeting is on May 11th, 1:30 here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. The next report will be from Director Skillman for the Landscape Committee.
Thank you. We did not meet, of course, we only meet quarterly, but our next meeting is coming up May 10th. And I encourage anybody who is interested in our landscaping to come to that meeting. We're going to have demonstrations and a slideshow looking at the new electrical equipment. In order to abide with state law, we have to move from gas-powered equipment in landscape to electrical. And so we're going to look at what we've got. They're going to demonstrate how quiet so many of them are and just what it is we're getting. And then we will also get a rate update on where we stand this quarter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next report will be Director Karimi on the Maintenance and Construction Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met on April 12. The committee reviewed the project log and the maintenance log. Although there was a slight delay on some of the project due to the weather conditions that we had recently, but the overall project progress was satisfactory. And we looked at the maintenance log. There was several suggestions from the committee how to improve the project log and include some more information, some clarity to the way that it was done and that, was recorded. But, those are, transferred to the staff to look at it. Also, we'll look at there was a question came up about the electricity charge for the EV charging station behind the building. Since that's, the financial side is out of the charter of the MNC committee, I respectfully reported that to the Finance Committee to look at that and let us know. Is on our agenda for future agenda, given that we give some input from the Finance Committee, GRF Finance Committee, and tell us that what they think about charges. They're low, they need to be higher, there should be difference between the member and non-member, so forth. So that's the one that we refer to the Finance Committee for the further study. Our next meeting is June 14, but we definitely will have some special meeting in between because of some of the items are coming up in regard to the space planning and the Clubhouse 1. So just, as they come up and they're ready for review by the committees, we will call for a special meeting to do those so we can move those issues forward. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item is...
Jim has a question.
Yes?
And I'm sorry, Committee Chair, I did inquire to Finance, and I will give you a report at your next meeting. But just to summarize it, there are 3 levels of charging. Each one of those levels is actually generates small amount of revenue for GRF. Right? But there are 3 levels. I think there's an employee level, outside level, and
that's why you guys looking at it.
Yeah. But no, it's a very small amount, but it's still there's no cost to us, and it actually generates a little revenue.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, Juanita, and then Debbie.
I'm not sure if this really goes to maintenance and construction. I think we did it through them, or perhaps through our management company. Carlos can report. I would like to see a report on the move to the building next door. As I understand, it's gone very well, although we still do have some of dispatch up on the 3rd floor. Did all of the others, maintenance, construction, and landscape, et cetera, move smoothly? Was there any concerns or problems or things that we need to consider in those rentals?
So Manuel will be at our closed meeting, and so you can ask him some questions, but my understanding, it went very smooth, and the last part was the broadband, and you actually had Paul Ortiz crawling through the through the building to get to the other building to connect them. So I don't know if you heard anything more than that.
Yes, it was very successful. Security is still organizing some of their workspace just because of the volumes of stuff that they had acquired, so they're purging some and then the rest they're storing, but it's adequate space, so it's going to work out well. But to President Carpenter's point regarding the hall crawling around, we actually had conduits that was
good.
discovered that went straight to that facility or to that building, and so that saved a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of headaches for everybody involved, and it got us up and running quicker than we had expected. So by all measures, it was a success, but I do encourage to ask any questions to Manuel in terms of the other technical side of the move.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jim and then Debbie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about the EV stuff? About 3 years ago-ish, there was reports generated with regards to that were given to the Third Mutual, to that committee I chaired on EV and parking. So perhaps Steve or Jose can pull that to assist you with that.
Steve
Okay.
is involved, yeah.
Okay.
And just.
Jim has a question.
Yeah, just one
Jim?
other comment
Okay.
about the move. I did visit Chief Eric Munoz, and it's tight up there, but the move was successful. He seemed to be very pleased with the move itself. As Carlos mentioned, there's a lot more to do to get settled, but they seem to be up and operating. But it is pretty tight. It is pretty tight. I think they made the best of what they had, and we need to make sure we move for a more, I'm not going to say permanent, but more permanent solution to what's going on here. But they're up and running.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is the renovation ad hoc committee. That would be Director Garth Hoffner and Dotson.
There was no meeting in April. We are waiting on the material cost data report from 27 Diamonds, and after that, we will schedule a meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you, okay. All right, thank you. So the next one is report of the Media and Communications Committee, Director Millman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was no M&C meeting on April. Our next meeting will be May 15th, 2023. I'll go ahead and report on the website committee. The website ad hoc committee met April 12th, 2023. Our next meeting has been arranged for May 12th from 12 to 1:30. However, I will be trying to rearrange that because of the funeral and other things that are interfering with it. And the broadband ad hoc committee met April 25th, 2023. And our next meeting will be May 15th, right after the M&CC meeting. And that's all I have to report. Debbie?
Yeah, if you can, the May 12th, because I'm looking at, yesterday I got an invite or greetings from Elise that says the meeting is May 4th from 1 to 2 p.m. So we just have to clarify.
I have to find out what's
Yeah.
going on. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Which is Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question.
And it's Zoom, but that doesn't help me.
I know. You said from what time to what time?
It says May 4th from 1 to 2.
That was the website?
Well, that would be the website committee.
A website, okay.
Website ad hoc. So we just need to clarify that.
I'll clarify it, and I'll try to do it before lunch.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, that's my report.
So the next report is mobile and vehicles, so Director Addington?
Thank you, ma'am. We had our hearing on April 19th. There were 6 residents, 7 offenses, 6 guilty with fine, and 1 not guilty and a retraction. Thank you. That ends our report. Oh, the next one will be, oh, for heaven's sakes, June 7th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
So the next one is Director Skillman also.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's Director Skillman. I'm sorry. Okay.
Also.
Which is the report of Security and Community Access Committee, and she is now the new chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Wait, I gave the traffic report
Right, she
instead of
didn't do
the,
the mobility.
I know you didn't,
But that comes after my Security Access
Yeah.
Committee report.
yeah.
no, yeah, my traffic, well, never mind. You know what?
I
Just
won't
it.
forget you. Yeah, all right. The Security Community Access Committee met April 26th, and it was a very lively meeting with lots of people, mostly talking about the LED flashing stop signs, although there were other things that were mentioned. We always like to hear from our members and any suggestions that they have. And I have to say that there were quite a few suggestions that we are looking into rather than just complaints. And so I thought that was really good. Our items for future agenda, because our next meeting is coming up on June 28th, and we're going to be looking at gate arms, which they felt were deteriorating and were taped together and wanted to know what we could do about that. Crosswalks, as was mentioned earlier this morning, they're an important safety aspect. And it was also asked that we look into developing a neighborhood watch. So we're going to look into what that would entail. All in all, an excellent meeting, and our next meeting Wednesday, April 28th at 1:30 here in the boardroom.
So I would like to ask Carlos to report on the Gate 16 and what they just did. Is it Gate 12? It's Gate 12.
Gate 12.
Okay, across the street it's 16. Okay.
So we just got the kiosk over at Gate 12 in the gatehouse. So now it has all the same capabilities that the other gatehouses have, which includes the scanner for the QR code. And then also, while not activated yet, we're creating a Gate 12 pass. So that will make it a lot easier for members to go ahead and issue that Gate 12 pass. It'll be a one-day pass. And then you won't have to have your gate or your guest meet you there at the exact same time as when you arrive, because that does hold up the process, because we do have the guest park and wait till the member gets there. So it'll be a little bit more streamlined for the guest and more convenient for the member. So that's good news so far.
So you mentioned that we would be able to do that when everything is set up through Dwelling Lot.
That's what I wanted to
That
ask.
guest, yes.
Correct.
Okay, great.
And now that means I have to make the new tutorial video to include Gate 12. Thank you.
Well, we weren't going to talk about that today, but yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Elsie?
Well, since we brought it up, so until then, like if I want to call my kid in to the gate, can I still do the either online or calling? I mean, is that still available?
So everything remains as it's always
Everything's
been.
the
We
same.
just have the capability now to verify and validate any guests there from the gatehouse.
And will that be on their app? Will it be on their phone?
It can be on the phone, but then also we need to look somebody up. We can do that as well, where before they didn't have that capability in that specific gatehouse.
Well, super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so the next report would be, do you want to report it again? Or do you want, you already reported the traffic, right?
Well, I had 6 people.
Okay.
I want to know about
I'll do the other one that I was supposed to do.
Wait,
and-
I have a question on traffic. Can I ask her?
Oh, sure.
I want to know what the retraction was. I'm curious now, because we've never, I
wasn't-
don't recall that happening.
It wasn't really I don't know if that's the right word, but what happened was the guy was ticketed, actually, it was his guests, didn't have a current registration. And the HUYA on his license plate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and we had to trace it back to the unit. Anyway, I didn't even know this was available. The resident, I guess he was really annoyed with his friends, but he looked into this, and he found out, and I didn't even know such a thing existed. He had an extension until the end of the month, which was September. That's when he was ticketed, and he had a sticker on it. It was like a temporary sticker in the window of his car, in the back window, that said, "This is extended until the end of the month." Well, you know, gee, we didn't see it at night, we weren't looking for it, et cetera, et cetera. So I would have left it alone because it expired that month. It was like 8 days from expiring. But they went ahead and pulled it back. Okay. I call it retract, but I don't know. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I mean, it was more exciting than we usually have on the traffic board. It was something. So anyway, now can I give my, which is a non-report. We all know what happened to our dear Don Tibbetts, who was the chair of Mobility and Vehicles forever. And the committee last met on February the 1st, and that was reported on during the February GRF meeting. February, March, April. The April meeting was canceled, and so now the next meeting, and the first one without our Don, will be on June 7th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Compliance, that's me. So the next compliance meeting is scheduled for May 3rd, which is tomorrow at 1:30. And the agenda is the disciplinary hearing process procedure and the matrix and the additional occupancy fee. So if you're interested in any of that, please join us. Thank you. And the next one is Disaster Preparedness Task Force.
Thank you, Madam President. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force met on Tuesday, March 28th, and we had a good radio call beforehand. And at the meeting, we looked at things like, we had questions from our members concerning tornado disaster, since there's been so much in the news lately about tornadoes, even here in Southern California. And we have concentrated on earthquakes and fires. And so we talked about what the best way to respond to tornadoes are, and that's shelter in place in an interior section if possible. We went over shelter-in-place instructions. We also looked at the coordinators, clubhouse coordinators. We've been having monthly meetings at different clubhouses and reviewing what's there, looking at the supplies and where we have cutoff valves and things like that. And this month coming up is going to be Clubhouse 3. And that's about it for disaster preparedness this time.
Okay, thank you. So the ITAC committee, Director Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We meet once a month, and this last time we had a report, and we are on target as far as the funds are concerned, funding is concerned, slightly behind in terms of actually the implementation. We're looking at maybe between September and year end in terms of the installation of this phase, which will include finance, and I forgot what the other part of it was, but so we're right on track actually, considering that this what we call ERP is in many cases a complete redo of all of the legacy, or many of the legacy processes that have existed 50, 60 years, some of which we don't even know why we do. And so it continues to be a great investment in our future, and we'll have a much more extensive report, maybe a written report probably by the after second quarter.
I want to add something.
Okay.
I just want to tag on to what Jim says. We the in-depth, deep dive that has been done into how this entire infrastructure of running this community is being scrutinized, and it is amazing the amount of effort and work that has gone into this by our team as well as Adventico. We had our meeting on Friday where we get our update, and the amount of work is just immense. I don't think it will be transparent to the community other than how nice things work, but just know that a lot is going into this, and we're very pleased with their progress, so that's good. Thank you.
And their commitment.
And their commitment.
Yeah, I mean, there's both the staff and Adventico's commitment to doing this thing right is just amazing. They're a part of our team, there's no question.
Thank you. The Purchasing Ad Hoc Committee, so I've asked staff to schedule 2 meetings, and one in May and one in June. And the agenda for May would be the purchasing process, presentation, and legal approval process. So a lot of this is educational. And the whole purpose of the meeting is we need to update the purchasing policy. So we'll basically do that in June, and we'll also talk about the process for the annual contracts and the master contracts and the vehicle purchase process, which we're going to introduce to the vehicle committee. So I'll be sending out, or staff will be sending out notices as when these 2 meetings will be set up. And that should be the end of the purchasing task force, and we should be able to dissolve it at that point in time. So thank you. Are there any questions? No? Okay. So the next item is future agenda items, which we have the appeal policy, the nuisance policy, and the harassment policy. And now we're ready for director comments. So are there any comments? Okay, so let's start over here.
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with the involvement that we've been getting in the last couple of months from members. Now, it's true we've had a few trigger issues, but they have come out not just with complaints, but with suggestions, and it's really heartfelt that they really are interested in our community and feel not just the need, but the right to come out and suggest it to our board, and I really appreciate all of the member involvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Okay, who's the next?
Thank you, Juanita.
Okay.
That's it.
Jim, were you next?
Yeah, I just want to thank.
Excuse me?
You didn't have your hand up?
You didn't have your hand up, so I...
Oh, I thought you were going in order.
Okay. All right. Hey, Elsie's got her hand up.
Thank you, Juanita.
We do have fun on this board, too. It's not all serious. Okay.
And I just want to thank all the board members for their participation, and especially our president for her leadership.
Thank you.
Oh, that's, okay. Reza says that all good. He had to go get his phone. He forgot it.
Oh.
He felt naked without his phone. Okay, and I understand that. So one of the things that, I was going to say that by the middle of May, all the tutorial videos were going to be posted on YouTube, but now that's not going to be perhaps correct. But there will be, resident service portal is done. And so just watch our YouTube channel. There will be a notice in the e-blast when they're ready. But we did do a really good one for the resident services portal on a video on how to access and use that. And I just want to express my deepest and sincerest condolences to Egon and his family for their tremendous loss. And as well, to talk about John Frankel, I had the pleasure of working with him on the Third Mutual, and it's just, he was always such a wonderful man and very kind, And then, of course, to Don, looking over at his chair, it's sad. I mean, I looked over there 2 or 3 times today and thought about him, and I just wish his family the best. And I won't be able to go to either of those services, but I just want to say how sad I am about this happening and wish everybody the best. And it was a great meeting, and I also do want to reiterate Jim again, because Jim, I often reiterate Jim, because we think very similarly on many topics. And I want to say thank you to Bunny for her leadership. It is a tough job. So if anybody ever thinks otherwise, that is not true. And this woman has devoted her time and energy to this board and this community for many years, and it's not an easy task. So thank you.
Thank you. So I want to say again, I feel sad about Don Tibbetts and John Frankel, and I send my blessing also to Egon for Leah. Yvonne and I had the pleasure of being at Leah's first celebration of life, and I can tell you she was a wonderful woman. And I have to tell you that I really appreciate, Don Tibbetts and the work that he did on the board. So thank you. I'm going to move on. I'll get teary-eyed.
I too just simply want to echo the condolences we all feel for the former board members and your wife Egon. It's a sad moment for all of us. And we've been very lucky to have these folks participate with us. Very good meeting. We've accomplished a lot. And it is the website committee meeting, the ad hoc committee is the 4th.
Okay.
Right soon. May 4th. Thank you.
All right.
May the 4th not be with us, or be with us, whichever one.
Well, it's my turn.
Gant?
Well, I want to express my deepest concern and condolences to Egan Hartopner for the demise of his wife after a long time suffering. Also, I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of Don Tibbetts. In fact, one day before his death, I sat down with Don, and he was describing me his days in Santa Ana, how he grew up, where he served. He was the principal of the elementary school and all that. And then, a closed meeting, we sat down side by side and ate together and laughed at different things. And 1 week later, he's gone. It was very, very sudden. I was very sorry to hear that. And that is one thing that I want to express today in front of all of you. I have some comment regarding, I have been elected as a member of the Disaster and Hearing Committee in Juanita's group, and I attended my first meeting. It was interesting to hear Mrs. Peggy Khan about the LED flashing light, and it covered most of our meeting that day. And afterwards, I had a chance to talk to her personally, and I said that I went there to see how it works. And subsequent to that meeting, she has circulated some video tapes regarding several places, and she has chronicled how many broke the rule by many people, even with the flashing light. And flashing light did not serve the purpose for which it was installed. So my concern is that with that kind of evidence seeing, I would expect our staff department will look into those things very carefully and see what we stand in terms of effectiveness of those lights. And I think that we will do it very carefully so that in future we don't get these complaints anymore and can justify what we are trying to do for the safety of the residents. That's my comment today. I thank you much for listening to me.
Okay, thank you. So we are ready to recess, and we're recessing in the memory of Don Tibbetts and the others that we have mentioned today, John Frankel and Leah Garth Hoffner. So we'll recess now and for our closed meeting. Thank you.
What time would you like closed session to commence?
What time is it now? 12:08?
12:08.
12:45.
12:45.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.